Try also to see
Evening, folks. So tonight, our reading comes out of Exodus 12, just right before the actual Exodus happens. On that same night, I will pass through Egypt to strike down every firstborn of men and animals, and I will bring judgment on all the gods of Egypt. I am the Lord. The blood will be slain over you on the houses of your father, and the seas of blood I will pass over you. No destructive plague will touch you when I strike Egypt. This is a day you are to remember. Generations to come to celebrate it as a feast of the Lord. All access only. Thanks you guys for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you. We have is awesome. Again, we went over there. We also have resources. Also, we have our application next week and Tuesday at 7 in the audience. And so we'll be reading at least in this room, so if you guys want to join us if you want. Also is the t-shirts, which makes us feel to the Richfield Elementary School food and food program. So if you would like that, we've got t-shirts as well. Anything else you want to know? Check out the Richfield Network. And of course, we have a stand as well as people around you. We try to do it differently.
Like two lost. We are neighbors. Hi folks. Hi folks. Richfield. For those of you who I haven't met before, my name is Jeremy. I'm the pastor of this new little church here in, with, and for Richfield. Those prepositions mean a whole lot. They might just be words to many people, but it's more than just about everything we do. It means we're you look a little bit different than a lot of churches might otherwise walk into and participate in. And it also means that we, as a small congregation like this, can do things and try to engage our community in very tangible ways. So last year with us, we did the first time that we're hoping we'll expand on something on a regular basis, just on. It's going to be a thing where we invite people in from our community, either having expertise in issues of justice to people in and around. So last week we brought in Maria Gonzalez, who is a community expert, and she came and spoke to us about food insecurity, which is a growing problem not only in Richfield, as a whole, especially in suburban settings where there's not the infrastructure to help support the growing need. This is about the need itself, finding it, causes, ways in which try to address it, and pushing people on solutions. So just this past week, another one, October 30th, last Sunday of the month, we're going to be having Oak, the director of ministries, which is actually right here in this building, formerly known as World. They work with refugees. I don't know if you've heard, there's a refugee crisis going on around the world. And I don't know if you've heard, there's also a political cycle that's happening right now. And refugees is one of the major things that's being talked about. Positive ways and not so ways. And so I think Bob talked about the issue directly touch on the realities of people are involved. Rather than just seeing these refugees as objects that we can kind of move around and kind of reject, or we can choose to accept. And then he's going to bring in specifically a Christian point of view as well. What do we as followers of Jesus, how do we as followers of Jesus respond to this thing that's happening around us? So if you know other people are interested in that topic, let them know what they're getting. I think that's the last, whatever the last thing is. So today we get back at the narrative lectionary, which is the worship resource. We jump back into the story. Now we're going to be in Exodus. I'll get more into that. We had that in Genesis. We took the 1 week break. And now we're getting back into Exodus, continuing the story, starting from the beginning of the Bible, and we're working our way throughout the year, and right then all the way in Revelation. And before we jump into that, though, I'm going to ask you a question. Sometimes I ask you a question and have the people around you. I'm going to ask you a question and I'm going to ask you a question later. I'm just going to want people to shout out. And here's the question. Do the word association. what are the words, the phrases, the feelings you get when you hear about history? Just history in general. When you hear that word, or you hear someone talking about history, what are the words or feelings or phrases that come to mind? Anybody for like two or three? Ancient, okay? Is that a good way or a bad way? Okay. It might be the chart. Okay, okay.
Biased.
Biased. What do you mean by that?
Never get the story.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. One more.
Lots of eggs.
Lots and lots of days. And again, is that a good thing or a bad thing? You're like, bias is a good thing. For some people, lots and lots of days might be a good thing, because they just love collecting information. History is usually not one of those things that you can take in control on. Some people might be like, well, history is all right when I need it, but otherwise I need that to delete. Because there are those history nerds. They love history. They almost think they're a typical 50 to 60-year-old white man who reads all about World War I and World War II history. I know about these battles and this weaponry and all of that. So they're like these history buffs. They geek out on history. But then the other end of the spectrum, those are like, this. Like it happened a long time ago. There were these people, there were these dates. I don't understand it, and I don't really care because how does it impact my life? Most people are somewhere around those two sometimes. A little bit more, but not very often. When it comes to the Bible, however, Bible is not neutral on history at all. In many respects, the Bible is self-history. It tells stories about the past. And yet, as any good history or history telling, it's not just mere information. It's not just facts. These are stories that were written down a long time ago by people who had an agenda. They were biased. They were trying to tell something about something that happened then, using ancient storytelling, using different ways of telling stories, using sometimes ancient stories themselves, and then kind of twisting them for their own uses, because they had something in mind that they wanted to communicate, not only about the past, but they wanted people to know something of the past influence present, and if it influenced the present, the future, how these people who now heard stories were going to live. So the intent of good storytelling, history telling, is doing something with what you hear. In speech active theory, has anyone found this seminary with speech active theory? Yeah, I think I got to live with this. We asked a couple of seminary. So speech active theory is what happens when someone does something and the intended response. So in speech active there is locution, illocution, and perlocution. Locution is like the actual act of the saying. Illocution, in saying something, you're trying to elicit some sort of response. So when someone is telling a story, is communicating history, especially in the Bible, it's not just spewing out facts. The storyteller, the history teller, is trying to elicit illocution, is trying to get the readers, the hearers to respond. Because in the long run, history doesn't matter a whole lot if. So tonight we're going back to Exodus 12 and 13, as George read, right? And this is one of the most important stories in the entire Bible. Jewish people, this is perhaps the most important story in the entire Bible. So over this past month, we've been talking about origins. We started in the early beginning of the Bible, talking about where humans came from, where the God came from, and now we get to this point where we're hearing what God is finally delivering on the promises that He made in those very early chapters of the Bible. What's important to remember is it's not just information, it's not just facts. The storyteller is trying to get us to respond in a certain way, trying to shape who we are now and who we will become by the story, by this history that is being told. So, a lot of sense right now. Hopefully, it'll make a little sense in about 15 minutes. So, before we jump in, I'm gonna dive on it. I'll have to catch us up a little bit, but we'll dive on the. So let's pray together. God, you let your chosen for generations. Keep us mindful of your faithfulness. Trust in the next step you have in store for us. For the sake of Christ, our Lord, and in His name. Amen. Just a quick note, does anyone not have one of these? Or someone next to you? Does someone next to you have one of these? You're going to need it later. You don't want to need it right now, but I just want to make sure that everybody has one more. Yeah, just hold on to that, and I will direct you to grab these until they're here. All right, so like I said, we're going to be in 12. That's the second book of the Bible. We started with the first half of the Bible, Genesis, place to start. And as part of the narrative lecture, we try to cover the overarching story of the Bible from September through May. But I don't know if you know, the Bible is a little bit thick. And it's got a whole lot of individual stories in it. So there's no way to cover all of the stories. There's actually 4 different years that the narrative lectionary covers, in different tracks, trying to cover as many of those stories as possible. But in 1 year, it's not possible in order to fit everything in September through May to cover all of the stories. So from week to week, we're jumping around quite a bit, or we jump forward quite a bit. But on top of that, because we had our Just Talk last week, we went from Genesis 18, we jumped forward all the way to the end of Genesis chapters, and now we went forward another 12 into Exodus. Happened in that amount of time. So the last time we were together and talking about this, we heard about this guy named Abram who would become. God had made a promise that He was going to give children, lots and lots of children, that He was going to bless Abraham and his family, and that they would to multiply to many of them, stars in the sky, and Abraham and his family, blessing them, they would go off and bless the whole world. And in that chapter, we get this response that Abraham hasn't had any kids yet. He's 90 years old, and God hasn't even wanted him. Well, in chapters that follow, finally he gets a son. His name is Isaac. God asked him to sacrifice Isaac as sign that he trusts God. Abraham was about to go through it. God stops him. Isaac lives. Isaac then has a son. 2 sons, Jacob and Esau. Jacob continues on and he ends up having 12 sons. His name is Joseph. Joseph dies of rainbow color because he's Jacob's favorite son. Joseph isn't the most humble character in the Bible. He kind of wants in front of his brothers that he's his dad's favorite. He tells them that he's having these dreams that they will seek out down him. Or siblings and all, if they heard that, you probably wouldn't be happy about it either. And so they did as you might expect them to do. And then they sold him into slavery, and then they went back, and they told him he had got these things. Maybe you haven't done it. But they have been tempted to do so if they say the same thing. So Joseph ends up in Egypt, and quickly rises to the rank of second in command and the powerful empire in the world. Meanwhile, his family's in the come to Israel, and there's a famine. The kids are having a ton of fun. There's a famine. So all his brothers that have gone down to Egypt, they knew who? But Joseph is now second in command. And rather than holding it over them and punishing them, Joseph is able to look at things and say, I'm in a God-ordained position to do some powerful work about this. And so he invites his entire family down to Egypt. Over the course of many years, his family settles there, they grow and grow and grow and grow. Those many years, there's a Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, comes, doesn't remember Joseph, doesn't remember the relationship that was happening between Joseph's family and the Egyptians. He's not happy about these people who are in this country and kind of gaining some power. And so he decides to enlist them as slaves. And then there's another Pharaoh who decides that's not good enough. I'm going to make sure that we come off. And he enlists genocide against them, having every single boy who's killed, except there's one boy that survives. His name is Moses. Moses. Sorry. This is important. This is 40 chapters. One of them survives, and he ends up also in the Egyptian palace. So he doesn't get killed. He grows up to the point where he hears from God, and finally accepts his mission to speak on behalf of God to Pharaoh, asking Pharaoh to let the Israelites go. Turn to the land where all of Joseph and his family could come from, where they were supposed to be, where God had promised. Well, Pharaoh wasn't very thrilled about that. And he refused to let them go. Sends plagues. Plague after plague after plague that are supposed to convince Pharaoh to let them go. Pharaoh relents, he says, leave, and then swiftly changes his mind, says, you're not going to leave. Time after time after time, this happens. Well, finally, there's one that's really going to do them, and it's going to change Pharaoh's mind, it's going to change the fortunes for the Israelites as well. But it's not going to change their situation. It's going to change past events, and it's going to change these people's history. It's going to be an event that continues to matter for them. And so this is the event we're talking about on the tax. So I'm going to read the passage from Exodus 12, 1 through 14, and a couple of comments, and read another passage from Exodus 13 that describes a little bit more of what they're intended to do. You don't have the Bible, we're reading the English translation. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, this month is the beginning of months. It will be your first month of the year. Tell the community of Israel from the 10th day of this month, they each must take a lamb for themselves according to their families, a lamb for each household. Any household is too small for a lamb, man and his expert neighbor are to take a lamb according to the number of people. Your account for the lamb according to how much your lamb must be perfect, a male. When you're old, you may take it from the sheep, the goats. You must care for it until the 14th day of every month. And the whole community of Israel will realize around the sun. You will take some of the blood and put it on the side posts and top the door frame of their houses, where they will eat the meat the same night. They will keep it roasted over the fire, ready made out yeast and with bitter herbs. Raw or boiled in water, but roasted over the fire with its head, its legs, and entrails until morning. But you must burn with fire ever remain until morning. This is how you are to eat it. Dress to travel, sandals on your feet, staff in your hand. You are to eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. I will pass through the land of Egypt in the same night, and I will attack all of the firstborn in the land of Egypt, and of the animals, and of all the gods of Egypt. I will execute my judgments. I am the Lord. What will be a sign for you on the houses where you are? So that when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and this plague will not fall on you to destroy you when I attack you. This day will become a memorial for you, and you will celebrate it as a festival to the Lord. You will celebrate it perpetually as a lasting. So there's a lot of directives in there, not a whole lot of story, actually. Oh, we hear that these things happen. the Israelites go and do what they're supposed to do. They get these lambs, slaughter them, they roast them, they put the blood on the doorframes. God follows through on his community. He comes into Egypt, he sees the doorframes that are covered, he passes over those homes, and then he goes out and kills the rest of the firstborn in Egypt. Not only humans, but animals. Not only the royals, but the servants as well. Like I said, this is the final plague. This is the final straw. Now, once this happens, once his son is killed, his firstborn will eventually become king himself. He changes his mind. He calls Moses and says, "I've had enough." And he says, "Get out tonight." Now, after that, there's an interesting detail where we're told that the rest of the Egyptians are favorably disposed to the Israelites. Hand over all of their gold, all of their silver, all sorts of possessions to the Israelites as they're leaving town. So rather than the Israelites escaping out the back door, harmoniously marching out the front door, these slaves who had nothing are suddenly in charge of what had been to that point the most powerful empire in the world. So these are things that happened. This is a story that needed to be told. And the point of the story is not just this thing that happened. It's not just a bunch of facts, a bunch of information. If we wanted to get down into the facts and the details of the story, we might end up with questions about numbers mentioned in here that when you actually kind of bring the numbers into reality, about how on earth that worked out. There might be questions about why was God willing to kill all of these innocent people. These are important questions. Questions that perhaps ought to look for, and they're not actually the point of the story, because as I read those 14 verses, the majority of those verses are descriptive of something they're supposed to do after this event happens. The story are supposed to just get facts about something that happened before. They're supposed to understand something themselves now. Understand that they belong to a God who is powerful and will not be outdone or outwitted. They belong to a God who helps powerless, oppressed people and humiliates empires. They belong to a God who offers new life and new beginnings. But most importantly, they are supposed to enact these myths over and over again. This is going to be the beginning of a year for them. Every year, beginning of the year, they remember what happened, because this is supposed to form and remind them who they are and whose they are. And you see that in the detail in the next chapter. It's actually very little narrative of this story, because next chapter, I'm not even going to cover these whole 16 verses, because there's so much detail about now what they're supposed to do with the history they were just handed. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Set apart for me every firstborn male, the first offspring of the womb among the Israelites, whether human or animal, is mine." Moses said, remember this day I came out from the place where slaves were brought out there with a mighty hand, no bread, maybe on this day in the month of Judah, you were going out, when the Lord brings you to the land of the Canaanites, Amorites, Hittites, Jebusites, which swore to your father you will flock with honey. Then you will keep this ceremony in this month. 7 days and you bread these 7 days and acceptable to the Lord. Bread must be 7 days, on and on about all of these details about this thing that they are supposed to do year after year after year. So the author of Exodus is trying to say these things has happened. But also this is something that happens. and that you're supposed to make happen. Basis through tangible acts done again and again and again. Prophetic or who they are, who they are. And so within the context of this story of this storytelling, it's about these historical events. You can see in these two of it is spent setting up a ritual for the Jewish people to follow year after year after year. So here's question number two, word association. When you hear the word ritual, what are things that come to mind? Repetitive. Okay. Good or bad? Anybody else? Just one more.
Neither be done with intention or kind of around.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's something repetitive, but you could have intention behind it, or it's repeated over and over again. And it's something that you do in this day, at this time, this way. How that word sits with you. But for a very long time, that word did not sit very well. Just a little bit of backstory for you who aren't here with my backstory. I grew up in Northwest Wisconsin, in a very small community church, about 400 people, in a community that's not a church. Seriously, it's a mega community like that. It is a conservative evangelical church, I would say, in many respects, borderline fundamentalist. There were a couple other churches in town, in the area. A small Lutheran church, a small Catholic churches. But this church where we went, that's where the real Christians went. They weren't those Catholics, they were Lutherans. Because the Catholics are Lutherans. I know I have Catholics and Lutherans, or Catholics and Lutherans. So hear me out, let me tell the story. Those Catholics and Lutherans, they were the ones who did those rituals. They were the ones who came at certain times and did these certain things because they were supposed to do them. And that's the only reason they did them. Meanwhile, we wanted relationship, not religion, right? So actually, it wasn't until I went to college at the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire. I went there for 1 year before transferred to where I graduated from, where I actually interacted with people who did these rituals. There was a Catholic church right on campus, there was a chapel right on campus. And there was one spring morning I was walking to class, and all these people were walking the other way, and they had these like dirt on their face. I didn't know who it was. Well, I got to find out from these other friends of mine. It was Ash Wednesday. I had never heard of Ash Wednesday before. Ash Wednesday was the beginning of Lent. I'd never heard of this thing before. All I know is that I saw these people walking around with this thing on their head, and they looked stupid. Because I had no context. They were these silly people that were just going through silly rituals, because they were supposed to do them. So then several years later, I began pastoring, and my it was very much the same. I was in a conservative church in the suburbs, and one of the primary things that the church did was try to create an environment where there were new and creative and culturally relevant things that would help people to connect with what was going on. And so it was all about figuring out what was best, what was creative and culturally relevant. After a while though, it became clear that I was pastor within that. I was a local pastor, I was an associate pastor. That the thing that people need most is not connecting, although people benefit from connecting in churches. They need to be formed, nation. And those types of creative and new and culturally relevant things often don't have much organizational competence to them. And so I was with this organization a You guys are familiar with Bob Dylan? He had this song where it says, my favorite is so much older than then, I'm younger than that now. I was hit with this realization that these things, these new, creative, ultra-relevant things that we've been trying to do, they weren't forming anybody. So there were all these things that I thought I had answers to, and I had a lot of answers to. I was trying to lead other people through the same thing. The ministry and the pastor behind it had been so inflated by hot air that it was now quickly dissipating. And so the breaking point, 2.5 years ago, I was sitting in the auditorium where the church met. The strobe light was cutting through the fog machine. Literally. I was sitting in the back row, I put my head back, and looked up at the lights and said to myself, you gotta be kidding me. Jesus, this can't be right. So where do you, whether you are a regular follower of Jesus, whether you are a semi-church attending Christian, or you're a pastor, where you turn, the answers it. You don't know the words anymore. All that creativity that you're supposed to have as a pastor, you ain't got it anymore. This was a time when I was ready, this early stages, ready to go into church. Stereotypically, are supposed to be like these really creative, entrepreneurial types. You're trying to attract new people to create new, flashy things. And I was tapped out. I didn't have anything left. I didn't have anything creative that I thought would be on the level. And so where did I turn? I turned to liturgy. I turned to ritual. You see, this narrative lectionary thing that the church, we follow the church. It connected me to church history. It connected me to this church calendar that was more than Easter. It connected me to thousands of other followers of Jesus, churches that were going through the same revelation study, the same texts, questions at the very same time. I didn't have to have all the answers anymore. I didn't even have to come up with all the questions. There were other people 2,000 years and asked many questions. And either arrived at the same answers or they never arrived at the answers that. And so it's true. Rituals can be this repetitive that you do just because you're supposed to do it. It can be stale and empty. You really like it. So one of the things that I did not mention about Exodus, who the author is, or at least who scholars say the author or authors are. For a long time in church history, people had assumed that it was Moses himself who was writing these stories, at least the first 5 books of the Bible. There's some complicating factors like the last book of the 5 includes death. Obviously, he didn't narrate his own death. But most scholars have come back and looked at it and said, in all likelihood, come into their completion until hundreds of years later, when Israel and Judah found themselves in exile. They were away from their land of promise. They were away from their context of blessing. In the temple where God and his presence was supposed to be tangibly with them. And so into that situation, people wrote down these stories, crafted this history, telling events about their past, shaping them in such a way that they become rituals. Remind themselves again and again in their land of promise. Even though they're not in their context, even though they feel like God might be distant. Passover happens. But God is the one who has the result. He's powerful. He provides. His presence prioritizes those who are oppressed. And this is especially important in your hard to experience. And so ritualizing the Passover, making it that happens at the beginning of every year, sharing this meal, reading stories together, over and over again, becomes an enactment and a reminder that God is strong. And also a reminder that forgiving could lead them to becoming very thing they love out. They could become the oppressors in the process. And the ritual forced them, allowed them to remember. That is, it made sure they didn't forget. So in case you're thinking that rituals is something that goes people then, and maybe this is a ritual, this story, these things that we practice were for those people then. Jesus himself instituted ritual, which in a few minutes we're going to participate. He looked to the past, and forged tangible symbols to try to form people in the presence, reminding them of who they are and who they are. Followers, including us, to mark God's activity in the world, remembering who we are and whose we are. And that is communion, the Lord's Supper, the Eucharist, like you remember, and then those things participate in that. In those moments of doubt, in those moments of questioning, in those moments of aspiration, perhaps rituals, this liturgy, this is missionary, whatever, perhaps only helpful for you. In any case, I pray for us, not just for me, but for us as a church community, that these words and these signs, not just this story, all of these words we go over them on your lips. Sweet lyrics in your ears. Pray that they may restore our identity where there's only weariness, or may restore faith where there might just be doubt. And may they remind us of a God who is with us, for us, who loves us, and cares for us. That's where we're at, and desires us to move as his faithful people into the places where we find ourselves. So, let's pray for just that. God, we thank you for these stories that happened thousands of years ago, down thousands of years ago, shared year after year. Thank you for your powerful history. But we also thank you for your faithful followers in history who have continued to pass these stories down, continue to remind us of where we came from, of who we are, and whose we are. These stories be refreshing to us, even refreshing. May they be tangible reminders we so easily forget. May they give us answers when we feel that we only have questions. Even when perhaps all we feel is turmoil. We ask all of this in your Son Jesus' name. Amen. followers and sharing Passover. What we're supposed to do, learning that context and sharing that when they were supposed to remember this thing that God had done. This ritual, remind who they were, just things around. Contextualize. Said, here's a new ritual for you. Listen to me in the next couple of days. I'm going to die. Thirdly, I'm going to rise again. And over and over and over again, I want you to do these things. So first he took the bread, and he broke it and said, this is my body, just for you. Do this as often as you eat it in remembrance of me. And he took the cup and he said, this is my cup. The cup of my blood. Do this as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. As you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes again. So we're going to participate in that ritual, that reminder about who we are and who's. They have you come up on the aisle, rip off a little piece of bread. It's gluten-free bread. If you are gluten-free, if you come up and then you can return to your seat. I'm going to open us up with a prayer, and then I'm going to go God, we thank you again for this ritual, for this prophetic enactment of who you are, what you've done for us, who we are because of you. Thank you for your son Jesus, for his death, and also for his resurrection. So God, as we participate in his body and take be reminded, be formed in we ask this. So we'll be back next week, same place, same time. Sorry. This is usually where I do a benediction. It's an event tonight. We're going to be doing this litany. There's actually worship resources that come along with following the Advent lectionary. So occasionally we'll do like in the church. I'll read something and say, Lord, in your mercy, mercy, and we'll say, hear our prayer. This litany is something that we've never done before. And it may admittedly be a little bit awkward. But what it amounts to is retelling the story of the Passover, of the Exodus, as if we are in that story. So I thought it was a fitting way for us to wrap up this evening. And so as we say that, it will be kind of a dismissal. So I'm the leader. So I'll read the regular lettering, you'll read bold. Make sense? Okay, okay. People are hungry.
We are hungry for your presence.
The people are hungry for justice.
We are hungry for peace.
And God said, take a lamb and cook it and eat it.
Everyone in our house feeds on time.
At sunset, cook the lamb over the fire and eat it.
But we are still hungry.
The people said, "We are hungry for our own land."
We are hungry for food.
And God said, "Here is your bacon. Eat your meal, put on your traveling clothes, and be on your way."
We are go. We're going to come back on our first years.
That to me, you do what I ask you to do tonight at sunset.
Together,
Always together.
we are ready.
And God said, "Do not fear, you will be saved."
Suffer flesh, for such a long time.
And God said, "Your deliverance is here."
How much necessity.
It was. And God said, "I have always been worthy of your trust. You are my people. I live.
All right, Lord, we will do as you ask. We will cover me together at sunset.
And you may leave your house without fear."
But Lord, you have been so afraid for so long. Why are you leaving us?
And God said, "I am leading you out of this land where you have been persecuted. It will be a long journey, very long, but I will provide for you."
For all of us,
Yes, every one of you. But you have to keep trusting.
you do as you have.
And God said, "Eat this meal of salvation, celebration, taste strength for the journey." And God said, "Do not worry about your future. I promise you a future of joy and abundance."
We believe you. We trust you.
Take care of your enemies in Egypt. No harm will come to you anymore.
We believe you. We trust you.
And God said, "It is time for your new life. I will lead you to a land of milk and honey. No more will you be slaves. You will be free. And every year you will eat this lamb of bread. You will remember."
Remember.
And God said, "That is good."
Let's go out together.
Always together as one people.
We are ready to go.
And God said, "I will bless your journey."
Almost sunset.
Yet bless us.
And keep us.
Amen. See you next week.